All right. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Zoom, Showtime TV here on live Facebook Zoom. And this is part 5, a look at politics in 2020. I have a very special guest. Everybody knows him. He's a very popular man. Justen Wright. He's running for mayor for the city of Wilmington. Justen, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Okay, let's just start off for those who may not know you. Just what is your professional background in terms of what is your occupation and what is your educational background?
I have an associate's degree in occupational studies. Also have a bachelor's in business management that I received from Wilmington University. And from a professional standpoint, former city councilman, serving 8 years on Wilmington City Council as an at-large member of council, as well as a business owner.
Okay, now what's your business?
The funeral.
Okay, you know what I like to say, we don't assume that everybody knows. All right, Justen, so when did you decide that you wanted to run for mayor, and why did you want to run for mayor?
Well, definitely wanted to run for mayor. Wilmington has been a place of promise and opportunity for me. Growing up in the city of Wilmington, born and raised on Wilmington's north side, my parents instilled values such as hard work, being a good neighbor and giving back to those in need. And I look at where we are at Wilmington today, and it seems like we've kind of gotten away from offering those same opportunities to young Wilmingtonians as far as opportunity, hope, and promise. Again, having served on council for 8 years, had the opportunity to know how to navigate around city government. And that was my platform for having the experience to run for the office of the mayor, whereas no other candidate at this point has served as a legislative body on city council and have that experience that we can bring over to the ninth floor on the mayor's side. Whereas we know history shows and proven, dating back to mayors from years ago, that having that knowledge has helped strengthen them when it comes to governance.
So we want to get to some hot issues that affect the city of Wilmington, Delaware. I want to first talk about public safety. It seems like almost every week there's a shooting taking place. Several weeks ago, there were some teenagers that died. And many people have been vowing that violence has been out of hand for quite some time. So how do you tend to at the very least help reduce the amount of crime that's going on in the city of Wilmington? And what's your platform on public safety?
When we think about public safety is multifaceted. It's going to take a concerted effort from not only community, but from faith-based leaders and community as well as just residents of Wilmington to capture in concert with public safety to try to combat the violence that we experience. So we talk about what kind of things we would like to implement and offer. One of the things that we would like to do is look into bringing body cameras to restore a certain sense of public trust with our citizens, because when they can trust those that are policing, they have a better relationship, a better trust in following up and sharing information. Also, we want to invest in a neighborhood or create a neighborhood coordinated policing program, which will further strengthen those relationships and cause police officers to actually not just sit on the corners and have conversations amongst each other, but to actually get out and know the neighbors that are in the community and create those relationships and build that trust. And on the other side of combating that with the faith-based communities, we would offer programs and partner with them that will give children opportunity. For instance, I vividly remember the Bethany Church used to be on 27th West. They used to have homework and a sandwich. I remember attending Bethany and Me, and the Sons of Allen had the Thursday Club. Also remember programs such as Warner School having lights on after school. So it's going to take a community concerted effort to implement those types of programs to strengthen and prepare our young people to give them positive enrichment, also through ensuring that our community centers that are available or even the schools are offering and opening up so that the young people have somewhere for positive recreation.
So if you think that if the police officer were to walk around the neighborhood and just talk with the residents, you think that would improve the quality of the relationship among police officers and the citizens of Wilmington?
Well, let me ask you this. If we were walking down the street together, you and I, you didn't know me at all. Let's just say hypothetically, would that cause you to speak to me if you didn't know me, or would you speak to me if you did know me? And when you think about those types of scenarios, if you don't trust someone, how can you have a relationship with someone? How can you trust that they have your best interests at heart? And if you look at what's going on around our country, trust is the main thing in any relationship. And that's something that will have to be brought to the forefront. And again, I named a number of things, not just one thing. I named a number of plans and opportunities that we would create to ensure that we can strengthen it. Because again, by no means will there's one answer. There's not one answer to the public safety problem that we have. So,
and you know, you being a director of the funeral home, I know the violence had to affect you personally because you're the one, House of Wright Funeral Services. You're burying young people, maybe on a monthly basis. I'm not sure, but I know that has to have a strong impact on you.
Look, I have a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old that I'm raising and rearing in the city of Wilmington. And there are a lot of families that unfortunately experience the death of a loved one. And the unfortunate part is that I don't think that people think about the effects that it has on the family, be it parents, siblings, and children. And I see that, and that's a problem. Also, when you say personally, I personally experienced my cousin killed in 2008, which is still a cold case, an unsolved murder. And that has impacted our family because you walk around, you don't know who did what, you don't know, we don't have any information, you know, and so those types of things, no family, no mother should experience those types of scenarios or situations, and no child, should grow up and not have a mother or a father due to gun violence. So that is a very pressing issue. And, you know, in the profession, I never went to school thinking about, hey, you know, a funeral service, you're going to funeralize young people due to violence and things like that. It just was the farthest thing from my mind. Even growing up in the business, it's not something that you expect to do on a consistent basis or a regular basis. So definitely just being a Black man myself and then having children as well and nephews and brothers, you know, it's definitely troubling to say the least.
Right. You know, look at the city of Wilmington. I'm seeing Rodney Square, looking all beautiful. I see the riverfront. I love the riverfront because that's where I exercise at. I run and I walk there. But I see certain places that get attention in terms of remodeling, looking beautiful. However, you know, I rode on the east side a couple of days ago, and I had Michelle Harley on a couple of days ago. I see boarded up homes. You go on Riverside, you see boarded up homes. You go to the north side, you see boarded up homes. So as mayor, what would you do to address the boarded up houses in the city of Wilmington, as well as the abandoned buildings?
So when we think about housing, we have to create opportunities not only for our residents to get gainful employment or even to learn trades. So that's an opportunity where we can create partnerships and ensure that we are using the households that we have or the vacant households to teach trades and things of that nature. Also, when we think about blighted homes, we want to make sure that these homes aren't just sitting there boarded up. When you come out of your house, you don't want to look to your left, look to your right, and see something boarded. We want to make sure these homes at least have, you know, lights on the outside, have an operable door on the front, and then even windows at the end of the day. So we want to increase the requirements of those vacant properties because, again, we have a number of people who just have properties and, you know, they use the term slumlords, unfortunately, and there are a lot of those that exist. But then there are a lot of people that aren't slumlords. So we want to see what we can do and address those that have the housing stock to make sure that we bring the standard up just a little higher to ensure that we're improving our communities, because at the end of the day, your sense of worth is when you come out and you see and you can be proud of your neighborhood, you can be proud of your community. And a lot of residents just don't feel that way because of the lack of attention that's been given and just the acceptance of a lot of these boarded up and blighted properties. So we definitely want to make sure that we pay attention to that and bring attention to it.
You know, and also looking at housing, you look at, sometimes we may forget either there's Crestview, there's Hurley Heat, there's Compton Towers, and then there's a lot of seniors in those facilities that live in those facilities. So as mayor, would you from time to time to just visit them to see how they're doing and see what concerns that he or she may have?
Well, one of the things we want to do, seniors are near and dear to my heart. You know, I'm a young person, but a lot of people tell you I have an old soul. And so in having that old soul, I have a niche for seniors. embedded in my heart. So definitely being in the high rises, one of the things we want to do is make sure that seniors are able to age in place. We also want to make sure that we change that housing facilities so it's just for seniors, because a lot of those high rises have a mixed use. It has mixed demographics. So we want to make sure that we are focusing and requiring and seeing what we can do to enforce that it just be for seniors, because you know, a lot of things happen when it's not just seniors in the building. And so unfortunately, we want to make sure that we are paying attention to that and that we are investing in our seniors, as well as ensuring that we have secure senior programming and opportunities for seniors that are substantive for them to thrive. Excuse me.
You know, COVID-19 has took a lot of jobs away. People have been applying for unemployment. They said this is the highest rate of unemployment in this country has surfaced. So in the city of Wilmington, Delaware, what is your economic plan in terms of, you know, bringing jobs into the city or adding jobs into the city?
Well, when we think about economic development, we have to have job readiness. People have to be prepared for a job. You know, you can't just say, okay, here are the jobs, and then nobody be prepared to accept them. So a couple of things. When I was on council, I created the diversity plan. The diversity plan will require contractors to submit an actual plan on how they are going to employ the local residents in the areas in which that project is, that city dollars have been going to ensure that they can give them an opportunity of employment. So that's one thing that we want to do, is make sure that we enforce that the diversity plan and hold contractors accountable. When we think about economic development, we also want to create a workforce development office, and in that office we'll work on the job readiness and job preparedness and ensuring that we partner with other entities that offer it, just to strengthen and ensure that residents are prepared for employment. And then the other thing, you know, I've had the opportunity for economic development within my own business to actually support local businesses, which hire local people, and even increase the individuals that we actually hire within our business. So we've been able to, you know, branch and strengthen economic development in that regard. And so we're going to continue to take some of those same ideas, as well as the ideas of those that will be in our administration, to see what we can do to augment the lives of Wilmingtonians and those that are residing here within.
Right. And so speaking of COVID-19, if elected as mayor, and this is still an issue going into 2021, as mayor, would you put a legislation in place where it's mandatory that residents of the city of Wilmington, Delaware, wear their masks in the public?
Well, it's not so much of legislation. You would just make an executive order. But a couple of things, let me touch on that. When we talk about COVID-19, unfortunately, this administration has not been in the forefront. They have not been informative enough when it comes to not only the citizenry, but also the employees of the city of Wilmington. A lot of people have been vulnerable and been exposed, and it's been hush hush, or they weren't informed in a proper time variable. So we want to make sure first that we stay ahead of that. We want to also create the Office of the Public Health Commissioner to ensure that we create a recovery plan, that we have a recovery plan for our city. You know, a lot of major cities like Atlanta and others already have these things in place where they're ahead of what's taking place, or even at least trying to keep a grasp of it. So we want to make sure that we're doing that and ensuring, and as everything flows and everything goes forward, we will have to address concerns as they are needed and move forward with our plan at that point concerning COVID-19.
You mentioned earlier that you were city councilor at large for 8 years. What was that learning experience like? Because when you ran your first term, I mean, you won, and then you were reelected once again to be councilman at large. So just, you know, you're probably one of the youngest guys on city council. What did you learn on a personal level? I mean, what did you learn about the political system?
Well, I think that's a loaded question. Nevertheless, I'll answer it to the best of my ability. So going into council, one of the things that I learned early on is that you have to research. You have to make sure that you are aware of the issues that you're talking about and that you're voting on, because all too often you can just have conversations and somebody's going to steer you in whatever direction they want you to go in. But you got to make sure you pay attention to the facts and that you are researching the issues to be aware and make informed decisions. I think that was first and foremost that I learned early on. Also, just learning the dynamics of the individuals that are participants, if you will, in city government, and learning how government works in the various departments, and knowing that the capital budget is what you use to try to ignite and reinvigorate change in neighborhoods and parks and things of that nature. So you just got to know how city government works, and just know the various departments, and have the assistance and support thereof. And so I think most importantly, not only did I talk about researching issues and knowing, but also in city government, you have to make sure that you know who to go to for whatever respective issue or concern that is, and make sure you follow up. Because most importantly, I found that a lot of people were frustrated because they would reach out and then someone would hear the concern, but they would never follow up with them. And so I learned to make sure that I follow up with the citizenry and businesses to make sure that whatever concern they had, that I addressed it to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions that I always wondered was that when you live in Pacific District, for example, I'm in the 1st District, so I have a mayor, you have a city council person, you have a county council person, you have a state rep person. Do those politicians from those different aspects, do y'all ever convene and talk about what's best for the districts, or is it that the city sticks with the city, the state sticks with the state, and so on? County stick with the county.
I'm kind of glad you asked that question, because one of the things that we want to do under our administration, or my administration, we will create what's known as a district action plan. And with that district action plan, because all too often, we know that when a person has an idea or ideology, they'll go ahead and just cast their vision, and they won't get input from the community. And that's one of the outcries I hear, either, the community saying we forgot about, or we're not heard from, or, they don't know what's going on. People don't even know who the mayor is. People don't even know who their district council person is. People have stopped me and said, I live in XYZ street. Who's my representative? And so that's a problem, but that could be some part of the resident not being engaged too. But, there should be no reason as to why that's left out there, but it happens. So when we think about working together, there are a number of different consortiums or groups or things of that nature, but it's all about relationships at the end of the day. If you're reaching out and staying in contact with your senator from an elected standpoint, your county council person or representative, because again, depending on the issue, you may have to reach out to them. Because if it's a street issue, you want to repave, you want to reach out to your state rep, your state senator. If it's land use or something of that nature, you have to reach out to county council. So again, you have to understand government, understand your limitations and what you can do, and then reach out and touch somebody else to help out.
Mm-hmm. I want to, before I forget, I got to touch on this. I want to talk about your father briefly. I mean, he was an awesome man. He was a great man. He was well respected, well loved, founder of the family business House of Wright. And when you announced that you was running for mayor, one of the things that stuck in my mind is, I wonder what Mr. Wright would think about Justen running for mayor. So I don't know if you ever even talked to him about this in the past, but just looking in hindsight, how proud do you think your father would be for you to be the mayor of the city of Wilmington, Delaware?
Well, my dad was my first role model, and my parents have been strongest supporters in my life. Next to, of course, now having a wife and sons who are my champions as well. But my dad, he was a person who came from, a single mother, the middle of 5 children, on the West Side, had a vision, had dream, had promise, had hope, and he was able to carry it through and follow through and bring it to fruition. And so with those same hope and values and being able to start a business from the ground up, not having any previous support or any financial footing to just have a vision and make it happen. He has instilled those types of things to always give back and have vision and dream. And so, my dad and I have had a number of conversations and always talked, and he knew that there was promise when I first was elected to office, and he still had that same faith and hope in me in moving forward as well, should I decide or should the opportunity arise.
Right. I want to talk about the youth. I heard many people in the city of Wilmington, many residents express concern over the closing of Jackson Street Boys Club. I believe there was a Boys Girls Club on Brown Street and Maryland Avenue. I believe that's now operating. Are you concerned about not having enough centers for the youth to play, learn, get mentors. I mean, I know we got Brown Boys Club. That place been there for a long time, and many of us grew up in the Brown Boys Club. And I know you got Walnut Street Y, but I don't think the Walnut Street Y was like it was back in the 80s and 90s. So what do you think about the outlets for the youth in terms of having creative learning centers or community centers?
So Jackson Street Boys and Girls Club was right there on the corner of Jackson and Elm Streets. And I actually had an opportunity to go there with Mr. Andre, Miss Vicky, and a number of others. And so I played in the small gym, the big gym, and we went around the corner to Rose's to get something to eat. So Jackson Street is a part of who I am, part of my makeup. And so to see that place close was a sad day. And to your point, with community centers and things of that nature, that's why I kind of alluded to, it's going to take the faith-based community to assist us and other corporations to kind of assist and make sure that we have the positive outlets that young people are in need of to just kind of strengthen them. Because unfortunately, as you alluded to, Jackson Street's closed. And then you have Walnut Street is not of the same function as it was before. It's more of a targeted program and use for that facility. Whereas you have West Center City, which is the city of Wilmington's only community center. Then we had the Powell Center in North Wilmington. You had the LACC on the west side. So there are some places that individuals can go, and Brown's Boys and Girls Club, as you alluded to. And then some of our children in the 7th District even go to Frames Boys and Girls Club. So there are some places that are there. We just got to kind of strengthen and create those partnerships to kind of create avenues to make sure that we're investing in our youth. So that's automatic. Again, I got a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old. So I know all too well the importance of making sure that there's positive recreation and enrichment.
Right, you just mentioned the William Hicks Anderson Community Center. I know you did some recently remodeling. I haven't seen what the inside looked like, but the outside looks very beautiful. So as mayor, are you happy with the programs at William Hicks Anderson Community Center, or are you looking to revamp or revise some programs, or is this kind of wait and see thing?
Well, it's not so much a wait and see, because you always have to kind of assess what's going on. And I think that when you think about the renovations that have been made to William Hicks Anderson Community Center, or West Center City, as we call it, community center, those dollars when I was on council was allotted in place there. So the plans for West Center City have been long and long overdue. And so there were ideas of possibly tearing that whole structure down or remodeling what was going to be the best. And based upon the financial situation of the city, I assume it was better to remodel, which we had discussed previously. So those funds were there. It's just that it actually, came to fruition in the time that we're in. And that's the thing about government. There could be so many things in the pipeline, but they're not always manifested immediately. So when we think about programming at the city of Wilmington, at West Center City, we do have to look at all programming. Just as you go in and we take a look at the budget and things of that nature, you have to assess and see what works and see what doesn't work. And then you can make an informed decision, because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to be a person that's going to sit here and cast and say, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then not be able to follow through or haven't had sound thought and information, as I told you, as far as research earlier. So there are a lot of things that we have to look into and research and then make an informed decision from there.
Once again, this is a three-way race for mayor. One of the concerns that I heard from the community is you and Ms. Velda Jones-Potter, two African-Americans that's running for mayor, as well as Mike Pizicki, who's white. There's been concern that the Black vote may be split. And I heard a couple people say it's between you and Ms. Potter. So as a candidate, are you concerned about the Black votes being split and you may not have an opportunity to win the election?
Well, here goes that word research again. I'm concerned about the community. I'm concerned about our city. That's exactly why I ran. And so when I decided to file for the office of the mayor, I never wavered, switched, or changed. So unfortunately, other individuals felt like later, okay, let's make a move or let's switch and let's change. It made, it's somewhat more vulnerable. And then now they want to paint the picture to say, oh, well, Justen should have been the one to get out. I was the one there in the first place. If Tuesday at close of business on the 15th, Justen was the only candidate, Mike Pizicki. Then on that Wednesday, we were the only two candidates. candidates. On that Thursday, were only 2 candidates, but on that Friday, somebody decided to switch, and now you ended up with 3 candidates. So I think that we have to beg the question and ask, why would you, if you care so much about the city, why would you put us in that position? However, it is very possible to still win, because if we remember in the last 4 years ago, a lot of people think about that election, but there are about 7 candidates in the race. And there are a number of different ethnicities in that race. So if you look at the numbers, then you try to gauge it, then it may seem as though, you're in the same position, but we're not in the same position. And there is a very strong possibility of still winning. And I believe we will, with the help of Wilmingtonians. And so with the faith, hope, and trust and prayers of them and continuing to work hard, we look to be the 58th mayor of the city of Wilmington.
All right. Now, you've been campaigning very hard. You've been knocking on doors. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked some of the others. Are there any main concerns? We may have touched on this earlier, but are there main concerns when you're knocking on people's doors? What are they saying? What are they expressing? What are the concerns in regards of the city of Wilmington?
So some of the concerns that I've heard from the citizens of Wilmington is, as we all know, we talked about, public safety. We talked about that. We also talked about the residents. I'm saying, when I say we talked about residents, the conversations I've had with the constituents of Wilmington, we also talked about representation, or the lack thereof. Somebody that actually is in the community, that they know, they see, they feel comfortable with, and have conversation with, and have faith and trust in, that their concerns will be heard, because right now it's not being heard. So you can go to any corridor, and people are feeling like all the investment has been in the riverfront. Just point blank, period. All the people, I can tell you from all ethnicities and races, you hear the overwhelming majority that this administration has been focused on property and not people. And so that definitely has to change. So we've had those conversations. And then the other conversations that we've had is in and around the youth, and making sure that we have substantive programming for them. So those are the things that I've heard while being out in the community.
Right. Now, I was talking to someone on your campaign, and they said that y'all out there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I said, my goodness, this is a full-time job. Me looking from the outside, campaigning is it's a lot of work.
Well, there are some days that we are out there all day for those hours. That is true. It's not false. And then there are days like today when I'm on this Zoom call here. I've had probably 3 meetings already. Today, and then not to even talk about the phone calls that you receive. So my thing is, when I talk to, I was talking to the residents yesterday, and I said to the lady, a lot of people, because we have a mass society right now, they're like, well, who are you here representing? And once they find out it's me, they're like, oh no, it's you? Like, you're out here? Yes, it's me. I'm out here. I take it that serious. I'm not just sending people out by themselves, but I'm actually out here to show the citizens of Wilmington, as I've always done. Every time I've campaigned, I've been out there working. And I want people to know that nothing has changed in that regard, and that I'm serious and I'm committed.
One question that just popped in my mind is, if you went to be mayor, that of course that's a full-time job. House of Wright's a full-time job, or are you able to handle both of them?
well, I have a supportive family, and as well as a great staff, and we'll have a great staff in the administration as well. So many people may or may not know, my mom is an integral part of our business, especially when it comes to cutting the check and managing our office staff and things of that nature. She's an integral part. Also, I have an aunt, Jaquita Wright Henderson. She has a doctoral degree. She's a former executive at Del Tech Community College. Well, she was a senior executive there, and she retired from Del Tech Community College, and she's a licensed funeral director. She got her license back in 1992. Wow. So we have other staff members. So the House of Wright will do well, as it has done, with the help and strength and support of the citizens of Wilmington and the other areas and states that we serve in. So there's no concern for the House of Wright, because it is no place. Hey, they might even do a lot better than they are now, But nevertheless, we definitely have the support and everything in place to continue to offer the quality service that we provided over the years of comfort and compassion.
A couple of months ago, the whole world saw the murder of George Floyd, and there's been massive protests, and there's been a lot of protests here locally. What is your view on the Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, I've attended a number of the protests. I'm never a person that wants to be in the limelight per se. Or right out in the front, but I've definitely been in support of those. And again, Black Lives Matter. I'm a Black man. As I explained to you earlier, I have a son that's 9. I have a son that's 3. And we realize the urgency, the sense of urgency, and the need to ensure that we have the same rights, the same respect that any other ethnicity has. And again, it's not that we devalue any other life, but we know the importance of how we are targeted. When it comes to, I can give you countless encounters where I've been pulled over, just and no justifiable reason, no ticket given. And that's been while on council, okay, and while not on city council. And so there are a number of things, and I know of the importance. And I think that's also, I'm a ray of hope to show young people, look, you can still be the mayor. You can still be an elected official in the city of Wilmington. You can still be a business owner. So we want to get that same hope and have young people, because sometimes they're afraid and they think, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. But that's a testament in itself to the Black Lives Movement.
Right. I want to talk about education. If you can elaborate on if you have anything on your platform regarding education, because I know education is very big for you, for you yourself. If I'm not mistaken, you skipped a grade. He was like Dr. Martin King Jr. I mean, he was that smart. So do you have anything on your platform in terms of improving the quality of education in the city of Wilmington? And then my second part question is, do you think that with this virus going on, do you think the schools should reopen?
Okay, so a couple of things. One is, when you talk about education, yes, I did have the opportunity to graduate high school a year early, but it came with hard work and sacrifice, because in doing so, I had to attend summer school, and I also had to attend a night school in order to graduate early, because you had to have 4 years of history. You had to have 4 years, I believe, of English as well. So I had to make sure that I fulfilled the requirements in order to graduate. So I did have a vision and a goal in mind, which I was able to achieve. When we think about education, being the mayor of the city of Wilmington, you have to advocate on every level. While we don't have a direct say in education that's on a state basis, we do have to advocate for our young people to make sure that opportunities are there for our young people. When we think about school, that's a tough one from a parental standpoint, but safety is first. At the end of the day, whatever is the most option, the best option rather, to ensure that our young people are safe, to ensure that the teachers are safe, and ensure that our families, most of all, are safe, is what we have to employ. We have to employ that measure to ensure that safety is first. And it has to be at the forefront, even in our business. You know, there are universal precautions and things of that nature. And so we have to take the safe route.
Right. You know, if elected as mayor, when one gets in from be a mayor, he or she brings in administration that makes the city of Wilmington the best they possibly can be. So if elected as mayor, how would you go about appointing or bringing in an administration and making the city the best it possibly can be?
Well, a couple of things. The mayor is sworn in, I believe, on the second Tuesday in January, right? So being sworn in on the second Tuesday in January, in March is the budget address. In April are budget hearings, because then the budget has to be enforced and adopted by June, because the fiscal year starts July 1 for the city of Wilmington. So the first matter of business is the budget, and ensuring that we have that under control, that we have researched it to the point where we can present a feasible budget to the citizens of Wilmington, and also try to get their input in that short span of time. Because again, as I said, we want to make sure that we have the input of our citizens to the extent that we can. So we're gonna that's going to be our main focus. So going right into city government, as every administration has, when there's a change, you have a transition team, and that transition team, within that process, it gives us an opportunity to evaluate. And we'll evaluate the various departments. We'll evaluate department heads based upon the values that we have and we know that the Wilmington needs. And so also on the merits of their capabilities and requirements to see what we can do to either possibly keep the employment that is there or get the best and the brightest that's needed. But one of the things that we will not do what this administration did, and that is increase the salaries of those before even getting them, and further encumbering our citizens to make sure that we can, quote unquote, get the best and brightest, because Wilmington has a lot of the best and brightest here. It's just a matter of making sure that we show value in our city and show value to those individuals that would like to work and be a part of our city. So that's my take.
Right. Also, I want to talk about city council for a moment. I often watch, the city council meetings. Boy, they can be very intense. I see some of the relationships are personal. I see some personal attacks. There was one time where I watched a meeting. I see two African-American politicians. One, they was calling each other slaves. I mean, that's how bad it was. And some of the members on city council don't really have a good relationship with the council president as well as the mayor. So if elected as mayor, how will you go about developing an established, effective relationship with the other city council members?
So I've had the opportunity to work on city council and be a legislator. So I understand the makeup of council. I understand what's needed in order to ensure that votes and agendas are pushed forward. So cultivating relationships has not been a problem for me, because being in business, you got to cultivate relationships in order for your business to grow, in order to ensure that you have the best quality as far as everything that you offer. So I don't think I have a problem, but I also had the luxury of working with two different mayors and two different presidents of city council, and seeing their various styles of leadership, and knowing, for example, what's good and what's not so good, or what I would do maybe and what I would not do. And so I had the opportunity to take those styles of leadership as well, which again has been a positive, I believe, on my end, that the other individuals in the race have not had. They haven't had that opportunity to be a part and understand the council and the relationships and how it works. Being on one side doesn't give you the experience that I had.
Right. In terms of the history of Wilmington, looking at mayors, I think I can go back maybe Dan Frawley. The other mayors, you have Baker, he has Jim Seals, Mr. Dennis Williams, and now you got Mike Przicki. I don't know if you'll probably be the youngest mayor. If you're elected, you'll be the youngest mayor. And if so, what would that mean for you on a personal level, making history in the city of Wilmington, being the youngest mayor elected?
Man, honestly, it would mean that any child. So let me tell you, there's a gentleman by the name of Carter. I'm not going to put his full name out there because I didn't, have this conversation yet. But he's 15 years old, right? And Carter was tasked by his mother to look at the three candidates, review them, vet them, and see who he thought more closely aligned with his values and who he thought he would want to support. And so, surprisingly enough, I ended up being that individual. So he reached out to our campaign. So I had a conversation with Carter, and I asked him, what made me so different? Or, why did you feel as though you wanted to support this campaign? And Carter, he gave me a few points, but then he said that he has aspirations to one day become mayor, and that he saw a young person like myself being able to be in the race, knowing that I've had experience from the council level. And also, while I was on council, there was a sixth grader at P.S. DuPont Elementary School who invited me to come to his class and talk to his class. And he said that he too was inspired by me because I was, as you know, elected as the youngest in the history of the city of Wilmington to city council. And so I just happened to be, a stepping stone for others. And so I'm just trying to continue to focus and be a bridge builder. So all the other young people and young Wilmingtonians that may have that idea and ideology that, hey, one day I can become the mayor. And ageism is not going to be an issue as it sometimes can become for others.
I remember talking to someone, this is an election a little while ago, and the individual told me that when they went to vote, they just went straight down the list and voted Democrat. They didn't look at the candidates. They didn't evaluate who would be best in my respective district. They just went straight down the ticket. I mean, it didn't matter who was the first name that was there. They just pretty much voted. So what do you say to individuals when they go to that poll and just really look at the candidates? They just don't vote for somebody because they're Democrat, or vote for somebody because they're Republican. Just don't go straight down the list and not even look and see who's even running. How important is it that we as citizens, residents in the city of Wilmington, evaluate who we're voting for?
Well, we know that we're at an inflection point, even on a national level. And so if you look at where we are as a nation, where we are as a state, where we are as a city, then you would know that it's important that you make sure that you research and vet those candidates, hear what they have done, hear what they're planning to do, and also just follow up with them, because it's important. At the end of the day, we cannot afford for someone to just go in and just push a button and not really know. Because at that point, you can do yourself a disservice as well as all the other residents, because every vote counts and it tallies. And so once that tally at the end of the day, that's who we're left with. And so we want to make sure that we're making informed decisions as a citizenry when it comes to voting and making sure that our vote counts.
Right. And then was there a law recently passed that felons could now, well, ex-felons could now vote?
Well, yes, that law actually, we had the opportunity of being on council to restore voting rights for ex-felons and support the efforts of then Senator Margaret Rose Henry, who is, as we know now, retired. She had championed that cause on a state level. We supported it, as well as restoring the ban the box legislation. I'm sorry for taking the box off of the application. So those types of things, we've had the avenues and opportunities. And I'll tell you, the way I came about that, I was campaigning for the first time in the first district, and I was on the 3400 block, I think, or 3500 block of Madison Street. Right. And so the city public works truck came by and was sanitation. And so the gentleman was like, hey, man, I would love to support you, but I can't vote. I'm like, what? You can't vote? Why can't you vote? He was like, I'm a felon. And I'm like, okay. So what it is as long as they paid their restitution and served their time, then they are able to actually vote. So that legislation, again, was supported and championed by myself. And so I did have that opportunity to do so. So it's important that they know that.
Right. So is there anything on your platform that I may not have asked you yet that you'd like to present to those who are watching?
Well, I just want to also say, when we think about city government and we think about what has been done and people talk about records and things like that, I'm the only candidate. And you talked about working with various elected officials. I'm the only candidate who had the opportunity to have a gun buyback program that was here in Wilmington. So we work with the Attorney General's office. We work with state elected officials. We work with all law enforcement agencies, the Department of Homeland Security, the state police, the county police, Wilmington Police, the U.S. Marshal's office, and we were able to have a gun buyback program here in Wilmington, Delaware. So when we think about experience, because a lot of people want to talk about experience, we want to ensure that we pay attention to those things. Also, I'm the only candidate who has not had any encumbered the city with lawsuits or litigation. And again, we're at a time where financials are important, our dollars are important. We have to make every dollar count. But unfortunately, we find ourselves in positions where the 9th floor is arguing with the 5th floor, and there are litigation, as well as litigation going on with the fire department. And these are hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when you think about that kind of money, okay, we have I think it's about $57 million budget now because they had to decrease it and make some changes as well as take from the reserves. But when you think about that, it's nothing to sneeze at in this day and age, because every dollar counts, every dollar matters. And so we want to think about that when we think about our city, when we think about the leadership that we want to have, and make sure that the leadership reflects the population in which it serves, and make sure that the leadership is for the people, is from the community, has the know-how, and is able to have cross appeal as well. And I believe that I have that amongst other candidates in the race.
So if there are those who are watching that want to participate in your campaign, they want to be a volunteer, they may want to give you a donation, they may want a yard sign. How can people get in contact with you? Well,
it's JustenWright.com. So my name is unique. It's JustenWright.com. So you can go on JustenWright.com. Again, there are three things typically for a campaign, which you alluded to, is you need support. So we need boots on the ground. Okay. Also with messaging, having individuals to help share the vision and also support via yard signs. And then finally is money. So if people want to donate and show their support that way, all those options are there on our website as we continue to update our website and add more information weekly to our platform.
Now, is there a deadline in which people can donate? Like, for example, is it donation stop at September 10th, or does it keep going on until the day before election?
It's up to, as long as the campaign account is open, individuals can give.
Okay. All right, Justin, so some people up to 5 minutes. You want to have any closing comments? You want to reiterate why people select you and anything that you want to spill? This is for you for the next 5 minutes or so. Whatever you got.
Well, first, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to have this medium because again, this COVID era that we're in, it's kind of hard to get in front of people and have those opportunities. But I also want to inform residents and encourage them that every Sunday on Channel 28, and we also release that information on our page, is Join Justen. So it's a show just kind of dovetailing into our platform. On the first show we aired last week, my wife was on this Sunday. My mother was on next Sunday. I have some exciting guests that we'll have on the show. So we want to begin to continue to share our message, to share our information with the audience of Wilmington so that everyone will know what we have to offer. And so I want to ensure that residents, again, have sound information. Please, this is breaking news. This is breaking news. This is breaking news. I've had a number of people come and say, oh, well, I hear Justin's going to drop out. No. Justin's not dropping out. You don't have to listen to, as the old folks say, the okie doke, or you don't have to listen to just the scuttlebutt or the peanut gallery and things of that nature. No, you don't have to worry because people are wondering, well, should I support Justin because I hear he may be dropping out? I'm not dropping out. Our candidacy is strong. We are grateful for that. We're grateful for the support that we've gained thus far and looking to even have more support as we continue to forge forward and be the 58th mayor of the city of Wilmington. Just knowing that we are going to look to restore neighboring neighborhoods. We're going to rebuild the public trust within city government, as well as bridge the gap from City Hall to your front door. So we want to make sure that there's inclusion and that the mayor represents all of Wilmington and does not put property over people, and that we are visible, we are viable, and we are moving Wilmington forward and giving everyone a fair chance to have, a great opportunity to live in Wilmington and thrive.
Okay, Justin, on that note, I'd like to thank you for being a guest on Showtime TV. There's a lot of more politicians I got to interview. This is fun, man. I'm loving it.
Hold on. I'm not a politician.
Okay.
I'm an elected leader, and that's a difference.
Okay.
Elected leader. Because you take on that, and that's what you're talking about earlier.
Buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, you got it.
Right.
Okay, I'll talk to you next time.
All right, thank you.
Thank everybody for watching Zoom, Showtime Television. This next time, have a safe and blessed week. All right, Justin, take care, buddy.
All right, yes, sir. Take care.